students. Welcome to the class once again. Today I am going to start a very new chapter in history, that is the countryside under the company's rule. Now, earlier we had already seen that how the Britishers entered in India, what was their basic purpose to enter in India, and eventually what they turned out into. Eventually, they occupied all the territories in India and they started to rule in India. Now, in this chapter, we are going to see that after acquiring certain territories, what changes did they bring in those territories and how did they accumulate the power and started to rule in different part of our country. Beginning with the company became the Diwan. See, the Diwani of Bengal, Diwani means the right to collect tax. The Diwani of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa was granted to East India Company on 12th August 1765 by Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. They were given through this Diwani, the company got all the rights to collect all the revenues from all these three states. Earlier, these three states were united; that were not they were not divided. These three states were united, and the after the partition of Bengal, it was divided. Now, being chief financial administrator, all the since all the revenue collection right were in the hand of the Britishers, its control over Bengal was legalized, means it became legal, and all the prosperous Indian provinces were under the Britishers, were under the company officials, means they had to listen to the words of the company official. Now, as a chief administration financial administrator, the company, of the land under their control, the company decided that they should increase the revenue resources so that they could meet the growing expenses of the company. Whatever the company was expenses was it could be meet through those revenues that would be collected from the different land that were under the company. Now, as time passed on, the company learned that they should be more careful. They should be very careful because since they were a foreign power, they need the local powers support. They need that those who were in the past had ruled the countryside and enjoyed authority and prestige should have means support in the with the, should support the Britishers. So those who had held local powers were not completely eliminated, but were controlled by the Britishers. Now, what were the different sources in this chapter? First, we will see that in this chapter we are going to see that how the company came to rule the countryside and organize revenue resources and produce the crop it wanted. Different crop, whatever crop that the company wanted, how it started to produce that. Now, see. First, we will see that what were the sources of revenue for the company. The company wanted to increase revenue without any fixed assessment and collection. Means there were nothing fixed that this a particular amount of money will be collected as a revenue. They collected it according to their need. They tried to exploit the Indian traders by buying cotton and silk at a very cheap rate, and it was as cheap as it could be possible, and soon there was no need. Earlier the company had to uh, take the goods and have to import gold and silver from Britain in India, but after the revenue was raised, after they rose the revenue, there was no need for the company to buy Indian goods by importing those gold and silver. The revenue of Bengal made them rich enough to do so. Means the revenue of Bengal only helped them to purchase the product from India and then take it back to Britain. So this was very much dreadful. The dreadful it showed the very much dreadful effect on the economy of Bengal because there was no profit seen in Bengal because the revenue whatever revenue was collected, it was it directly went to the Britishers. So the Bengal economy went into crisis at that time, and the artisan, the people who were living in villages, they started to leave those area and move forward. And because the peasants were also not able to pay their dues that they have taken from other people. Okay, and see what the company official, they also used to force these artisans and peasants to sell their products at a very cheap rate, which was very much impossible for them. So there was a time in 1770 when a very familiar famine in Bengal occurred, and it killed more than 10 million people in Bengal, and one third of the population was wiped off from Bengal. So these were the things that were seen after the company started to collect revenue according to their own choice, to meet their own expenses. Okay, after all the economy was ruined, the company felt that they should invest on land. The investment on land should be encouraged so that they could achieve more and more. And it was at this stage that the idea of fixing land revenue was emerged. Okay, it emerged that the land revenue on particular area should be fixed, and after a very long discussion, the permanent settlement was introduced in Bengal and Bihar by Lord Cornwallis in 1793, and it had basically two main basic features. What was the first feature? The first was that the zamindars, rajas, and revenue collectors, along with talukdars, they became the landlords. As the company gave them the right, the company converted these people into landlords. Okay, and zamindar did not only act as agent of the government in collecting land revenue, but they also had right of ownership. These right of ownership made them hereditary and transferable. And on the other hand, if we talk, this was the situation of condition of zamindar, that all the entire land were in their hand. But on the other hand, the cultivators who produced the goods were reduced to status of mere tenants, means they were just working in the on the land of these zamindars, and they were left on the mercy of these zamindars. And this was all done so that revenue could be collected on time by the zamindar. How? See, the cultivators, when they were given the position of tenants, the use of pasture, forest land, irrigation, fisheries, where these were some rights which were sacrificed by these people. Okay, and in fact, the tenants of Bengal and Bihar were, as I said, were completely left on the mercy of Jamindar, and it was done so that Zamindar could be able to collect the taxes, to collect the revenue on time. Okay, the the second feature under this permanent settlement was that the zamindars were given 10 by 11th of the rental they deprived from peasantry to the state. Means the total produce, the 10 portion of total produce, where it was divided into 11 portion, and the 10 produce were given to the state, means the company, and the left one portion was kept by zamindar itself. But the sum, here there was a feature that the sum that was said was fixed permanently. Okay, and if the Here also one major thing was seen, that if the zamindar had to pay the revenue on the date which it was set by the company official, and if the zamindars were unable to do so, they had to means give off their land to the company official. Okay, so this was the second thing. Second thing that was seen in the permanent settlement, and at the same time the zamindari had to pay revenue, as I said, on the due date, or they have to sell off their land. But initially the fixed revenue was made with zamindars. The fixed revenue was made with zamindars. The initial fixed revenue was made with the zamindars, and at that time the rate of revenues was very high, and it almost was doubled in 1765 to 66, and in 1793 when the permanent settlement was introduced. And there was a calculation done by a company official, John Shore. In that calculation, he divided the gross produce of Bengal into 100, and it was said by him that the government claimed 45 of that 100, zamindar received 15, and the remaining 40 was left in with the actual cultivator. But all these things had one result, when a result was seen, that was a high land revenue demand was nearly half the zamindar was put up for sale, means they had to sell off their zameen, means land, in between 1794 and 1807. But here one more thing, this all was the condition of zamindar. But when we talk about cultivators, the cultivators found all these situations very miserable. The arrangement that were made by the zamindars and company official was very miserable, because they had to pay the rent to the zamindar that was very high, and they were just left that much enough, only amount that could sustain the life of his and his family. And on the other hand, his land was also insecure, because if he failed to pay the amount, if he failed to pay the rent, he was to the zamindar, he was evicted from the plot that he had cultivated from generation, on the land that he had cultivated from generation. So they felt that this was very cruel, and they were into the cruel clutches of the money lenders, from which they never got out, because generation after generation these rental duties were laid on their children and after their children. So these things never got off. So, but there were benefits of permanent settlement also. The very first benefit was that the British officer realized that their rule would be unstable, so they need the local supporter who would act as buffer between the people of India and the company official. So the existence of zamindari came, and their existence were owned by British rule, and who would therefore be compelled by its own basic interest to support it. The second benefit that was seen in the permanent settlement was that the permanent settlement guaranteed stability of income, because collection of revenue through a small number of zamindar seemed to be much simpler as compared to collecting revenue from each cultivator. The cultivator number of cultivator were put in the hand of one zamindar, and that zamindar was responsible to collect the revenue of all those cultivators who were under him, and the zamindar had to give that revenue to the company officials. So it became very simpler for them and cheaper than the process of dealing with the lakhs of cultivator. And the third benefit that was seen was that the permanent settlement was expected to increase the agricultural production. Since the land revenue would not be increased in future, the zamindars would be inspired to extend cultivation and improve agricultural productivity as was being done by in Britain by its landlord. Means whatever things were going on Britain, they started to take off that in India. And the permanent settlement that was seen was so the permanent settlement was later extended to Orissa, northern district of Madras, and district of Varanasi. And in part of central India and Awadh, the British introduced a temporary zamindari settlement, and under this, the zamindari were made owners of zamindars were made the owners of land, but the revenue they had to pay was revised periodically. So this was the permanent settlement that was introduced basically in Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha, and later on in different parts of country, in different areas of country. I hope till here you are very much clear. If you have doubt, you can ask me. You can write your message. You can write your query in my number or Google Classroom. I'll try to solve that query. For now, have a good day and thank you.